last week I literally forgot about what day of the week it was until about 6 o'clock on Friday, and that's when I realized I didn't get a video up on Friday. My bad. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek Deep Thoughts Thin Coats with me, Phil the Glacial Geek. I'm coming to you here from lockdown once again, trying to muster through and figure out what I can do. I know battle reports, my last filmed battle report went out on Monday, so I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing about battle reports. I've been thinking about trying to maybe do some kill team ones. Full battle reports are going to be very difficult for me to do, so I'm trying to figure out maybe some other content to be putting up for you, maybe something like a top 5 kind of thing, and maybe, I don't know, something else. I'll figure it out. But I'm trying to figure it out. So if you have some ideas, I know you guys gave some great ideas last time, and some of those I've been working on, and just trying to figure out what it is that I'm going to do going forward with all of this, because we're going to be stuck here for a little while longer, and we'll figure it all out. So, but today, I am going to be talking about, I don't know. Honestly, that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about just kind of what I've been doing and what I want to keep doing, and just kind of talk about everything that's kind of going on and try to work it all out. At this point, it's like, what do you talk about? There are no tournaments to really develop the meta about. There's no gameplay to really talk about. There's, the stuff I'm building and painting is more just what I have and what I kind of want to see versus what I need for a list. Like the list I've come up with, I haven't been able to try yet, so there's no need to tweak it, no need to change it. So kind of what I've been doing. So part of what I've been doing has actually been building yet another kill team here, which is kind of cool. I've been working on a focus. Come on here, focus. So I've been working on a sisters kill team. My wife helped me with the heads, which is kind of cool. So I've been working on those, which I've been super excited about. And I think they came out pretty awesome. What I did was I primed them with the crystal blue Army Painter primer, painted in the armor and everything silver. I kept the heads separate and primed them just gray. And then I washed it all, once I put in the base colors there, I washed it all in the purple tone from Army Painter. And it made a nice, cool, like pinkish, purplish armor there that works really well with the blue, which gets, tinted a bit of like a purplish tint to it too, with all of that. And it came out pretty awesome. So I'm excited about those. And I'm actually going to be working on doing the basing, because you can see I've done a little bit of a brown earthy base there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be dry brushing it to be working on it. I'm also going to be doing some snow with it. So I'm going to be adding on some of basically what I do for the snow, which I did for my Gene Stealer cult, is I take the snow material, the basing material from the Army Painter, and I mix it with their matte white, and it creates like a paste which goes on pretty well, and you can drag it out, so it makes it look like it's pretty natural, and it looks really good. I'm a big fan of it. So, and I like to get like a earthy base. So on them I've got the astrogranite base. This one I've got like the earth base. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be dry brushing that with a little bit of brain matter beige, and just dry brushing to pop out the basing material a little bit. So I think it's going to look good. So that's what I like to do. So yeah, what have I been doing? Honestly, just anything I can to just keep going. I think that's kind of what we're at in the hobbying right now, is a lot of people are just, we don't have games coming up that can make us want to do more. We don't have like a deadline coming up for a lot of this stuff. And I think what it comes down to is you just have to do what makes you happy, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's making us not happy. That I think with all that going on, that you just really need to do what makes you happy. If you think a model looks cool, go for it. If you've wanted to start new models, I know I talked about this before. I have found that doing something new as opposed to what I had been doing has been helpful. I like painting stuff that I don't have a that I don't have a list for, because it doesn't make me wish I could play the list. You know what I mean? I think that's part of what was bugging me, especially earlier on, was a lot of stuff I was going at, and I was like, I really want to try this, but I can't because I'm in, sitting here at home, and there's not going to be another attempt to play these games for quite a while, for a couple more weeks. And with that in mind, I realized that it was making me long for what I was missing, as opposed to being able to distract me from what was going on. It was just another thing to make me bothered and worried about with what was going on, because I was left wishing I was back at the game store, wishing I was back with my friends, wishing I was back at a tournament, rolling dice with everyone, and I can't do that right now. And I don't think that doing anything that was really reminding me of that was hurting more than it was helping. And I think coming to that realization, I kind of came to that realization midway through my last Deep Thoughts video, realizing that what was upsetting me about a lot of this stuff and what was making it hard to do these was that it wasn't the same. You know what I mean? My wife was super happy to help me with trying to film battle reports and kill team battle reports and stuff like that. But the reality was that it was a lot of just me playing me, and she helped me out with doing some dice rolls. Which is fine, which is great, and I really appreciated it, but it's not the same thing. It's a lot of work to try to play. You can't really outthink yourself. It really comes down to, what dice were better for me with what army, and that's not as fun to play. And I realized that trying to do it in a battle report was just making me miss being able to play my friends, who would come up with cool lists, come up with different armies, and would come there with a different tactics. They would do things and pull things and remember stratagems that I wouldn't think of, and then made it interesting and made it fun. And you sit back and you go, well, if I'm trying to do everything that I used to do, but being stuck at home while doing it, then I'm just left wishing that I was back out there playing those games with my friends, playing those games with other people who want to play the game. And if that's just leaving me longing, that's just another thing to add onto the list of things to worry about that are going on right now. And that seems counterproductive. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to worry about. And I think things are going to drastically change for a lot of people, if not everyone, going forward. And trying to cope with all of that while also trying to maintain your sanity. If you can find things to not stress about, probably the better. You know what I mean? If something is stressing you out and you don't need to do it, then I highly suggest not doing it, because there's enough out there that we do have to do, that we do have to worry about, that you don't have any choice over whether or not you can worry about it. Whether it's jobs or money or housing or health or whatever it is. There's a lot of stuff that is unavoidable for us right now, and for everyone in the world right now. And with that in mind, I think just making sure that you take time for yourself, and when you're taking time for yourself especially, so when you're doing the hobby and stuff, when you're building models, when you're painting models, when you're whatever it is that you're doing, I think that a good frame of reference for your mind is do something that's not going to stress you out, something that isn't going to be a problem for you. And I came to that realization that trying to do those things was stressing me out, and it was bothering me. So I realized that I can't do it. I can't. I don't think it's good for me. And the kind of material and the kind of videos that are going to come out of it are not going to be great. It's just going to be me being, upset and not being as fun and not being as jolly as I should be. And kind of the reason that you guys, I imagine, tune into me, because I don't imagine it's my devilish good looks, although that probably doesn't hurt. But you just need to really kind of figure out what is going to provide you with the most amount of, because here's the thing, hobby is a lot of escapism. It allows us to travel to the 41st millennium, when there's a lot of problems that we don't have to deal with currently, but that are very different from our average day-to-day business. You don't have to worry about taxes when you're playing Warhammer 40K. You don't have to worry about health insurance when you're playing Warhammer 40K. You don't have to worry about any of those issues. I know that there's aspects of that in the lore. Like if you want to run a lore heavy administratum's game of Wrath and Glory or something like that, then maybe you do get into paying taxes or whatever it might be. But with that exception, a lot of it is escapism. And right now, if if the reality of the hobby is not allowing you to escape, if the reality of the hobby is just reminding you of the problems that you're facing right now, then quite frankly, it's counterproductive to what it should be doing. And I think that it's important to keep that in mind, and it's important to be aware of that, so that you sit back and you're like, oh, I've got all this time now to paint all those models. Well, if painting those models just reminds you of the fact that you can't go out and play with those models, then what's the point? What's the point of doing it if all it's doing is really just upsetting you, if it's really just bothering you, and you're left kind of with a you're not left with the net positive of enjoyment in your life that the hobby should be bringing to you. I think that trying to play the game, you can play on Tabletop Simulator. I know a lot of people have been doing that. I've played a couple games on that. And what that does is it kind of, feeds it a little bit, but sometimes it does leave you feeling like, well, I wish I could just, I wish my models weren't just getting caught on this building, because I could just pick them up and move them. I wish that I could just roll dice instead of having to just click the mouse. And to a point, it's fun to play it, but at a certain point, for me at least, it was also, again, reminding me of the fact that I can't meet up with my friends right now to go and play a fun game with them. The fact that I'm looking for my models and I'm playing with as close to the approximate as I can find. A lot of my list wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be, and I couldn't find everything. And that's just the reality of what it is to play with those in that kind of system. And it's fine, it's fun, but at a certain point, I'm not going to be playing it as much as I did the other game, as much as I did the regular game, because it doesn't feed the need, And I think at this point, sure, we do have to turn a lot of our hobbying from original Coca-Cola hobbying to Diet Coca-Cola hobbying, whatever we can to fill that gap and fill that need without necessarily being the full thing that we enjoy because of the realities of the situation. But at a certain point, you have to be realistic about it and understand that maybe not everything is going to be filling that need. Maybe we don't feel that same kind of enjoyment, that same kind of satisfaction that we get from the hobby otherwise. And if that's the case, then that's fine. We don't have to do it if it's not bringing us enjoyment, and you don't have to do it if it's not making you happy. So if you have like a whole bunch of models that you've been meaning to paint sitting on your desk, but painting them doesn't help you, it just makes you feel worse, then don't do it, because it's not worth it. It's really not worth it. If you end up coming out of here with no further models, but with your brain fully intact, then that's a victory. I think that's a win at that point, and you can just hit it back again once it feels like it's a productive use of your time. Because I know not everyone feels stress relief and enjoyment from the actual act of painting. I think a lot of people, it's something that you do in order to do the hobby, and it's something that you do in order to enjoy the hobby. And if that's the case, then right now you're not able to do the act that brings you the stress release. You're not able to do the act that brings you the joy, and you're just left with doing the work part of it that you put into it to do it. And if that's the case, then don't stress yourself, because there's no need at this point, because you're not going to be getting games in. You're not going to be able to play for a while. And because of that reality, you need to sit back and you go, okay, well, how do we do this then? How do we go forward? How do I move forward as how do I move forward as a hobbyist? How do I move forward as just like a person? And when you come to the realization that trying to do what I did before doesn't bring me the same amount of joy, because the end result, the end that you get out of it isn't the same, then don't do it. Honestly, don't do it. Don't push yourself through it for no reason at this point, because there's enough stresses, there's enough problems going on that to do so is counterproductive. And I don't think it's going to help you, because what you're going to end up doing is you're just going to find yourself regretting and being just upset with the hobby and with yourself, with all of this. And you need to be able to come out of this with our sanity as intact as possible, because there's enough out there just driving us nuts that we don't need something else to do it. But along those lines, there are ways to go forward that can shake things up. For instance, at the recommendation of one of my Patreons, Seth, I actually bought the Blackstone Fortress kit, and I'll be getting that coming hopefully soon. I ordered it because the local place didn't have it, so I ordered it, and hopefully it'll be coming in soon, and then I can start playing that, because it's a one-player game. So it's designed to be one player. I'm not left feeling like I'm missing out because I didn't play it before, so I have no experience with it outside of what I will be doing by myself here. And I think that I'll find myself hopefully enjoying it. It'll give me models to paint for a purpose, because sometimes having a purpose to paint your models is positive and keeps me going, keeps you motivated. So I'll have that the purpose behind painting the models. And on top of that, the purpose to paint the models, and then on top of that, I'll be able to play a game with a game mechanic that I haven't done previously. So I don't have that same kind of sense to it that I would be doing with everything else. So if I'm trying to play like a myself versus myself in a battle report of kill team or full 40K, then I would feel like I'm missing out on something, because I'm used to having those games against a friend who knows how to play, a friend who enjoys the game, that we can interact with, go back and forth, and have that kind of camaraderie. And playing it just would feel like a hollow. It feels a little hollow when I do it by myself, because it's not the same thing. But again, Blackstone Fortress, I've never done it before with friends. I know lots of people have, and I know lots of people enjoy it with friends, but I'll get to do it just on my own, because I've never played it with someone else. So, maybe at that point, it still may be the diet, the Diet Coke version of regular Blackstone Fortress with friends, but I've never tasted the full sugar version of it, and I won't feel quite like I'm missing out at that point. So I think that it's going to be I think that was an excellent recommendation. So thank you, Seth, for that one. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be helpful, because again, it'll give me a purpose for painting models, which I always enjoy, because as much as I like painting models, I don't like it to the point that it's just that it's fun to paint. I like having painted models that I painted more so than the actual act of painting. So I think that being able to do that, having a purpose for these models, is going to be super helpful. And I think that having a game that I can play that is going to be that I've never had experience with before won't leave me wanting. It won't leave me, reminiscing about the times before all of this kind of hit in. So I'm excited about that, and I think you can give it a shot. If you've never played Kill Team before, by the way, give it a shot. Get the rules and give it a shot, because again, for me, it reminds me of what I'm missing playing my friends. But if you haven't played Kill Team before, you've got nothing to compare it to, and honestly, that can make you happier. Not knowing what you're missing can make it happier. And I think finding those kind of things. I know there's board games out there that are single player board games that are designed for it. I know there's a lot of different things, and I think trying to find those ways to kind of scratch the itch and make us feel happy without drudging up more bad feelings is really the goal that you have to have right now with everything when you're trying to hobby in place. I think that it's the reality that we face right now, and I don't think that I feel like the less that we the less that we dwell on what we're missing, and more that we trying to look for ways to bring back some bits of that enjoyment, are going to help us get through this with our minds intact. I know I'm trying. I'm reading a lot. I've got a lot of the 40K lore that I'm getting a lot of stuff out of, so I'm excited for all of that and to keep going with all of this. So, there are things to do, but I think that coming to that realization of what doesn't quite do for you what you wanted it to is also very important, because I think that being honest with ourselves right now is super important. I think that being honest with ourselves and being self-aware to what we need and what we want is vital to making it through this, because there's enough out there, there's enough going on that we do have to stress about, there's enough going on that we do have to worry about. There's enough going on that we do have to take seriously that when bad feelings and emotions come out in our, our happy making activities, then there's no room for that. There's just no room for it anymore, Whereas before, if you had a game coming up and you just didn't feel like painting and you just kind of like made yourself push through it, it was for a purpose because you knew that at the end you were going to have something fun to do with it. Right now, it's not worth pushing through. If I'm being honest, it's not worth pushing through. You're not going to see me painting just hordes of little gribblies to make for a list because I just don't have it in me to do it. And I don't think most people have it in us right now to do it. And I think finding those, Uncle Adam talked about it in Tabletop Minions, finding those quick wins, I think are going to be super important to make us happy. So painting one-offs, painting small things, paint a character for your army, paint a character for an army that you think you're going to start, paint a kill team, one kit from a different army entirely, play a game that you haven't played before, play a version of a game that you haven't played before, do something that's going to keep you engaged, that's going to keep you wanting to progress, that's going to keep you wanting to keep going. And you can find that joy, and I think that the positive will outweigh the negative then, versus trying to trudge through and trying to push through something that just doesn't click, that doesn't feel right now. It's just not worth it. It's just really just not worth it. So yeah, find that model from that kit that you just never thought you were going to paint and build it and paint it, because why not? If you never use it in a list, so what? This will keep you going, Or if you want to try to come up with a list that you want to build that you can prepare for when the time comes, go for it. If that's going to keep you going, that by the at the end of this you'll have a fully painted army ready to go. If that does keep you engaged and keep you wanting and keep you motivated, then absolutely do it. The only thing I say not to do is anything that's going to make you upset. Anything that's going to bother you, that's going to be just getting at the back of your brain as you're doing it, because there's just no room for that right now. And you need to do, I know people throw around self-care a lot and as though it's like the end-all be-all. The reality is that right now you have to take care of yourselves, because there's so much that's working against you being okay that it's up to you to make sure that you're okay. So cut out the negatives, reduce the negatives, make it so that you're just doing what you can to be happy in this time, and I think that's going to be the winning formula to keep you going. So, like I said, I've been trying to do that. I've certainly enjoyed painting. Painting up these sisters was a lot of fun. Painting up the Mechanicus like I did previously were a lot of fun. Trying to do projects that are, out of the ordinary, that are a little bit different, that change things up, have been good to engage me, have been good to keep me motivated. But when I sit there and I try to think about building a model that just, is a utilitarian model for my army, it's like, I'm just not motivated to do it, you have to build it, you have to paint it when you've got a game coming up, you have to build it, you have to paint it when you have a tournament coming up, you have to build it, you have to paint it when you're trying to figure out a list to bring to your usual game night. But with none of those things happening right now, the motivation to do it is nothing. And if I try to force myself to do it with zero motivation to do it, and honestly zero reason to do it, it's going to stall me. And if I stall, then I'm left there sitting there with too many thoughts in my brain that just ends up hurting me more than it helps me. And I think that that coming to that realization has been good. I know that at the end of this I might not have all of my Dark Angels units painted up like I had hoped to do, but at the same time I'm probably going to have a whole lot of other things painted up and built that are going to be fun to play. And who knows what happens at the end of this when all this comes out. Maybe some of this will turn into bigger projects than I imagined. Maybe I start a Mechanicus army, maybe I start a Sisters army, and this becomes the spur to do so. Who knows? I can't tell you what's happening. I don't know what's going on later this afternoon, or I should say I have a pretty good idea. It's probably going to involve me sitting in front of a computer doing nothing. If I'm being honest with myself, but I don't know what's going on next week. I don't know what the future has in store for us right now. And if I don't know that, then I certainly don't know what armies I'm going to end up building. So find those wins, find ways to cut the negative out of your out of your enjoyment. So sure, I think having your fully painted army previously would have brought you more joy than painting a whole bunch of random stuff. But right now, the fact is, having a fully painted army that you can't use might bring you annoyance, might bring you anger, might bring you make you upset. And if that's the case, then it's not worth it. I think waiting this through and trying to keep it going, keep yourself going, is far more productive than actually forcing yourself to do something that you're not going to enjoy. Because if you tried to do that when this is all over, you're not going to want to do it, and it's going to end up having just your pile of shame just build up even more. And I think that we kind of have to find those wins. We have to find those ways to keep going, and we have to find ways. We have the benefit that our hobby, what we enjoy doing, is very conducive to work in isolation. So building and painting armies, building and painting scenery, doing whatever it is, does have an aspect that you can easily do, and most people do even in the best of times by themselves. So we have the isolation and we can do it right now, but we also have to come to the realization that there is a social aspect of this hobby that involves making lists, playing games, and going to tournaments that we can't do right now. And if the isolation aspects of the game are just bring up thoughts and of those things that we are missing, then they're not going to be as productive as you might think. And they're not going to be as helpful as you might think. They're not going to keep you distracted from what's going on. They're not going to keep you motivated with what's going on. They're not going to keep you going. They're not going to keep your forward momentum. So find the things that will keep you engaged. Find the things that will keep you excited. Find the things that will keep you entertained, that will keep you calm, that will keep you keep your stress down, even if it's only for 45 minutes or an hour or whatever it is that you're painting, 15 minutes, whatever it is. Find the ways to maximize the benefits without introducing negatives that are unnecessary. Because there's, like I've said a lot of times in this video, there is enough out there that are negatives that are unavoidable that we don't need to make new ones. And I think that finding those wins, finding those projects that are going to keep us going and keep us motivated are what's going to keep us, that are going to find us at the end of this in the better position than forcing ourselves and to plow through something that's just brings up negative thoughts. So that's my thought, because I did find myself where I had a lot of time, and all of a sudden I'm like, why am I not building and painting as much as I would like to? Why am I not doing this? And I started having negative thoughts to myself about this. I mean, like, you're being a fool, Phil, not taking this time to build and paint. You're being a fool, Phil, not to work on these projects that you've had. And coming to the realization of why I wasn't doing it has made me feel better about what's going on. Being able to come to that realization and come to that reality and accept it, that don't want to do it because it reminds me too much of what I'm missing, made it easier for me to then find those things that I could do. So like I said, building the Squad of Sisters for that, building the Mechanicus that I've had sitting around, all of those things are things that you find these wins to keep you going. And when you find those wins to keep you going, that's exactly what they should be doing. And that's exactly what the hobby should be right now. So you see a lot of people doing that, going online to do painting groups. I know that the game store, one of the game stores here in Georgia, they do a virtual painting night. They've been getting together and watching a movie together and painting and sharing their painting when they do it, because it gets you that kind of interaction that you miss. So finding the ways to do it finding new ways to do it that are engaging. So maybe you did all your painting on your own, and that your social interaction from the hobby was playing the games. Well, right now you can't play the games. So maybe now you get your social interaction while painting, and maybe when you're talking with someone while watching a movie while painting together, will actually bring you that enjoyment, will actually bring you that joy and social interaction that you didn't expect, because it's something new, it's something different, it's something that's novel, to make you enjoy, to bring you some joy, bring you some relief and escape from everything that's going on right now. So I know it's not super. I know that's not super original, and I know I may not be blowing your minds, but take care of yourselves right now with everything that's going on, and just kind of keep going. And at the end of this, we'll be able to all get back to whatever new normal it is that will involve a lot of the old things that we had. So a lot of the other the list building, the army playing, the games, the tournaments. We'll find new ways to get through and do that. Things might change, but at the end of the day, we'll get back to some semblance of normality that we don't have right now. But you need to do what you can to get yourself to that point without going completely insane and wanting to give up and burn your models. So find those outlets, find those wins, find the ways to keep yourself engaged without making yourself bitter about what it is that you're missing. And I think with keeping all of that in mind and cutting yourself some slack. So if you're not spending all the time painting that you thought you would, who cares? Who cares? At the end of this, if you come out with like one model painted, great. If you come out of this with like 3 armies painted, great. If you come out of this with no armies painted, but you still kept your sanity, great. That's a win. Just come out of this. That's it. That's the end goal of all of this, is to come out of this alive and sane. And if you can, good. If it involves building and painting an army, good. If it doesn't, good. If it involves picking up a new hobby, picking up something else, maybe you start painting some Infinity models. Maybe you start painting some AOS models. Maybe you start painting some I don't know, some board game pieces. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, if you can come out of this with your sanity and your health, then that's a win. And you shouldn't be trying to hold yourself to some kind of expectation about hobbying right now. That's the last thing that you need to be doing. Don't hold yourself to any expectations about this. Just be honest with yourself. Be self-aware enough to realize what's stopping you and what you're trying to do. And make sure that at the end of the day, you do what's best for you, and you try to keep sources of added stress and added frustration out of your life. It's just not worth it. So don't beat yourself up because you haven't built the kit that you've had. Don't beat yourself up because you haven't painted those models. Don't beat yourself up because you haven't started any projects. Don't beat yourself up because your paints and your brushes are gathering dust. Just be good to yourselves. Be good to yourselves. Be good to those around you. Be supportive. Don't try to hold each other to some kind of expectation, or I've seen all those things where it's like if you don't come out of this with a fully painted army, then you're just fooling yourselves. No, that's BS in my opinion. I think that you need to cut people slack. I think that people are going to do what they can to make it through this. And if you don't come out of this with a fully painted army, who cares? If you don't come out of this without any other painting, who cares? I don't. And anyone who does care what you do with your time and your army during this time, they need to focus on themselves, and they need to turn their attention to themselves and figure out what they need to do. Because if they're giving you crap, then they're the problem, and that's their problem, not yours. You need to make sure that you can do what's going to make you happy. So starting a new army, fine. Starting up a squad for Kill Team, fine. Starting up a squad that you don't play Kill Team, but you just wanted to have some cool painted models from that army, fine. Finding a new game to play, fine. Finding a new game to build and paint that you never actually play, fine. Whatever it is, do it. Find it and just do what's going to make you happy, because, like I said, it's just not worth it otherwise. So, I hope you guys all enjoyed this. I know it's not, like I said, not a mind blower, but hopefully sending out the positive vibes. And I'm, very proud of whatever you have done. I'm very proud of whatever you will do. And I'm very proud of you realizing that you don't want to do anything because it would just cause you too much stress. Whatever it is, I'm proud of you because you made it this far, and we're going to keep making it this far, and we're going to come out of this in a better place, hopefully, after all of this is over. So, I hope you guys have all enjoyed this. I certainly have. I've been Phil, the Glacial Geek, as always, and until next time, stay safe.